I'm going to do a brief discussion about this idea of momentum. And there are many ways to approach it, but one of the most practical approaches I have used in my own life over and over, and it always works, is a concept that I have broken down into 6 M's. The 6 M's make the idea of momentum practical. Gladys and anyone who has interacted with me before knows that I have run a business called House of Mastery for a while. And the idea is that mastery is the final step. What are the steps that precede mastery? And momentum is one of the ingredients that we rely on when we build towards mastery. So there are 6 M's. 6 M's that constitute the 6 pillars that build on each other towards mastery. The first M is mission. Anytime we are moving in a certain direction, we are driven by mission. And I think of mission, for example, when you think of military arrangements, think of a mission as a special assignment. Now, this can be a short-term special assignment or a long-term one. But we find most of the energy that moves us when we have interim goals, interim assignments that we can see the end of. That's how we are designed. That's why even in our education system, it is designed in such a way that there is interim assignments on an ongoing basis. When we bring children into the world and they start growing, there are interim milestones. It's how our minds are wired to work. A mission is essentially a special assignment. And the power of a mission is that it gives you what I call a motive force. The word motive, the way it's used, especially in music, is that the motive is essentially the essence of what the movement of the music is going to be. In other words, this music starts from the first note, but how does it get to the last note? That is the assignment. The assignment is to play from the beginning to the end. That is the short-term assignment. And how you play is driven by the power of the mission. So the more meaningful a mission that you're pursuing is, the more motive force you're likely to get out of it. The meaning is what gives you, it what causes motion. You have heard somebody share a story that is so deeply meaningful, you say that the story moved you. That's because the story connected to something you feel that you possibly can make a difference in, or it touched on something that you care about. It connected with you in a way that made you want to also do something. That is the value of mission. And that's why we talk about goals. And as we move through the 90-day momentum challenge, our language is going to become more refined. But at this point, the goal is to start heading in the direction, pursuing some kind of mission, and everybody will pick something that's meaningful to them. And that is what is going to cause you to start moving. That's what is going to give you motive force, so that whatever you are pursuing during the 90 days is your special assignment. This special assignment determines how you are likely to get from the beginning to the very end. So the first M is mission. Now, mission can be a specific goal, it can be a very clear vision, it can be a general sense of what kind of growth you need, it can be a particular skill you want to develop, it can be you want to work on a certain relationship that is important to you. Whatever it is, if it gives you motive force, it gives you a force that begins to shape how you move from the starting point to the end of the 90 days. It's already serving its purpose. Mission and meaning are inseparable. Mission and meaning are inseparable. Every time you watch a movie, every time you listen to a song, every time you read a book, every time you're in a conversation or in a meeting or you go through a course, there is some meaning that is inherent. We as human beings, we refuse to participate in things that are meaningless. Now, sometimes the meaning can be positive or negative, but that's not the discussion for this moment. It's do you find it meaningful in some way? Maybe the meaning is it's entertaining to you, or it's educational, or it's simply just intellectual stimulation, or it's just so engrossing because of its novelty or newness. Meaning is without meaning, without finding meaning, we cannot persist even in very short-term missions, very short-term assignments. Mission is the first M among the 6 M's that build towards mastery. The second M is movement. Now, once you have the special assignment, the next step is how do you move? Now, when you think about music and you see, for example, it's a classical performance and the conductor is on the stage, what is the one thing that you always see the conductor doing? It's they're literally physically moving. In other words, you have this special assignment. You are feeling the motive force from within you to start taking action. How do you proceed from the beginning of this assignment, no matter how short or how long? How do you proceed from the beginning to the end? And the intriguing bit about movement is that it's not just physical. There is physical movement, but sometimes the more important movement is mental movement. When we think about any building, any idea or goal or mission or vision, the word fundamental, in other words, what are the fundamentals of the vision? What are the essential things that have to be done? If it's parenthood, what are those 4 or 5 things that have to be done every single day? The fundamentals. If it's running a business, what are those things that have to be done every single day to take care of customers, to develop the product? What are those specific things we call fundamentals? In the word fundamental, most of the word is dedicated to the word mental. In other words, movement, physical movement is important, but physical movement has to be preceded by mental movement. So from mission, you find meaning, you find some emotional force that begins to move you. And in movement, you find the mindset that puts you on track to start pursuing the mission that you have already set out to pursue. So the first M is mission. The second M is movement. And movement is not just physical. The physical component is important, but the physical component is not sustainable if there is no enduring mental movement. And mental movement, the word mental encompasses spiritual movement, encompasses emotional movement, encompasses emotional alignment. There has to be movement deep within. Sometimes when you look at a river, for example, some very deep rivers, you look at it and it looks like there's no movement. That's because there is no physical movement on the surface, but there is movement deep within that river. And that is the kind of movement that we start to build towards. And sometimes this is the most frustrating movement to build, where you know that this is important because it's clear to you, it connects to you in terms of meaning. So mission is not a problem. And physically, you are able to, you can rise up and, start moving, but that's not going to be sustainable. How do you build that? How do you ignite that mental movement that makes physical movement absolutely almost automatic? Number 3, the third M, that is a pillar towards building to mastery, is measurement. Now, the reason why you have to understand these M's each in its own right is just how amazingly they are connected. Mission is your short-term assignment or long-term assignment or special assignment. Movement is how you get there, and it's not just physical, it's also mental. But sometimes you don't have either of those two very clearly figured out, and they start becoming clear once you start doing M number 3. And the third M is measurement. Measurement. We as human beings are driven to be involved in things that we find meaningful, whichever way we define it. Now, measurement is the way we determine the value of things, the quality of things, the extent of their importance, the significance. Measurement is the hidden ingredient why most people lose their journey towards developing momentum. What doesn't get measured doesn't get done. What doesn't get measured doesn't get improved. What doesn't get measured falls by the wayside. Only things that get measured get sustained. Only things that get measured get improved. Only things that get measured get optimized. If you don't measure it, you will not know how much value you're getting out of it, how far off track you are from the goals that you had, or even how well you are doing. And the value of measurement is that it connects with an intrinsic need that you and I have, which is for rewards. If we start doing something and we don't get rewards out of it, we are going to lose our track and we are going to stop. Measurement is the inbuilt reward that not only helps you to improve what you are doing, and also enables you to celebrate the victories that you are achieving as you go along, but it serves the purpose of rewarding you. And what gets rewarded in human psychology, what gets rewarded gets repeated. So there are many victories in your life that you deserve to reward yourself for, but because you're not measuring, you lose sight of those victories. If you started a small habit of just reading every day, if you track that habit, at the end of 3 months, you will feel so much better about yourself just for reading for 10 minutes every day. And the only reason you feel like that is if you have been tracking it. What gets measured gets repeated. What gets measured and what gets rewarded gets repeated. What gets measured gets improved. Simple habits, simple everyday things that you do. Something as simple as just showing up on time for your meetings or showing up on time at work. If you start doing that and start doing it consistently, if you do it consistently and you are measuring it, it becomes a reward. It helps you to develop a reputation with yourself, first of all. Your self-respect just starts soaring. And you know what that does? It gives you the next M. The next M is motivation. Motivation. Motivation is the power that arouses action. It's energy that causes you to be alert and ready. Motivation is the power that amplifies your energy. So here is the trap we run into a lot of the time. At the beginning of pursuing a mission or a special assignment or a goal or a vision, whatever it is, we want to start off with motivation. Motivation doesn't come at the beginning, and even if it comes at the beginning, if it is not anchored by measurement, if it's not preceded by predictable movement, if it's not grounded by mission, it's not going to last. So lasting motivation depends on you fulfilling your strongest psychological need. And your strongest psychological need is the need for reward. If you have raised children, you know it. It doesn't matter how good those children are. It's so much easier for you to get them moving in the direction you want if you design some kind of reward and punishment system. And that's how we are wired. It's why we have survived how far we have survived. That's why even in spirituality, the concept of sin and blessing. If you look for motivation at the beginning, It's just going to be a flickering flame that will pass away and you are back to zero. And that's, I believe, one of the reasons why most people get stuck. Most people get stuck because they're looking for motivation to get started, which is well meant, but they're looking for a flame, a flickering flame that is weak, that is going to fall off. We have to start off bare knuckles with meaning. What is it that really matters? So that it gives us the motive force and causes us to start moving. And once we start the movement, bearing in mind that we have physical movement and the deeper spiritual, hidden, emotional, mental, intellectual movement. And once we have mission and movement, we start measuring, we start getting the reward and creating that rhythm. Once we create the rhythm starts to generate that warmth that is essentially motivation. And motivation arouses us to action. It causes us to be ready. It amplifies whatever energy we already have. Motivation has the tendency to magnify meaning. When we are motivated, that goal we are pursuing, we actually want to extend and spend more time on the goal. But motivation is not found at the beginning. It comes at the end. Motivation is when you have already put the firewood in the fireplace and lit it and sweat, and if you're lighting it, you've lit it, and finally now the fire is burning. That is motivation. And once motivation is fully established, and motivation is now feeding your measurement, because you are getting the reward, and the more you measure, the more motivated you are. You are getting the reward because you're motivated, you're measuring, and because you're measuring, you're moving so that you continue measuring. And now your meaning is becoming more refined, more amplified. That is the only time we break into the next M. And the next M is momentum. And the difference between momentum and all the other M's is that momentum is self-perpetuating. You say an object is in a state of momentum when it has enough activity to continue moving without additional inputs. And you get there. You get there after starting bare knuckles with your mission and moving even when you don't feel like it, showing up even when it's very easy for you to not show up, and consistently measuring what you are doing. Just even if it doesn't seem like it's going to matter, just consistently measure. You can't measure everything. You have to narrow down and measure just a few specific things, but consistently measure. And that lights the fire of motivation. And once motivation starts to feed all the preceding M's, eventually it explodes into momentum, where you have enough activity, enough energy to continue moving, to continue going without any further inputs. And you have the capacity to continue growing, even if all you do is just what you're currently doing. Now, the trick is you can't stop doing what you are doing, because if you stop, you might go all the way back to zero. When momentum is sustained long enough, even through the valleys of disappointment, when momentum is sustained long enough, where you behave like a professional in pursuit of whatever special mission you are on, eventually you get to mastery. And mastery is, I define mastery as the power to dominate or subordinate an element. And that element can be a subject, it can be a skill, whatever it is, get to a point where you essentially dominate in it. You get to a point of preeminence. It's not a place that many of us get to that quickly, but eventually you begin to experience the ease of mastery. I have not experienced mastery in any areas outside medicine. Within medicine, there are two specific things, and it's a very narrow specific things in medicine that I got into the habit of doing very, very consistently, that I sometimes feel a certain comfort that almost scares me, where sometimes I encounter this specific question and it's complex, but for some reason, this is the one type of question that I never struggle with. But I can tell, I can see why. And I'm talking specifically about what, if anybody is in medicine, what we call electrocardiography. The one we look at those EKGs, those squiggles that measure the heart's rhythms. And I realized why. I got so fascinated about these rhythms. As far as I can remember, there were days when I could do between 20 to 30 of those electrocardiograms, trying to decipher them on a consistent basis, day in, day out, day in, day out. Today, I've looked at probably 20 to 25 of them. And it's not because I was in any clinical area that required me to do it. It's just that I developed a passion for this. It's something that I want to become one of the best teachers of electrocardiography and write books in that area. So it is when I created a schedule, I had a whole calendar with slots, like 25 slots every single day, where I would mark how many EKGs I have done. So that if today I only get to 20, tomorrow I'm going to need to do 30 so that I cover the extra 5 for today and 25 for tomorrow, so that I measure and get there consistently. So those are the 6 M's. Mission. What is that special assignment that keeps you moving? Movement. You start moving even when you don't feel like it. You will feel like it in M number 4, but you don't need to feel like it to start moving. If it's important, that's why it's mission at the beginning. If it's important, then it requires you to start moving. Number 3, measurement. You have the mission, you start moving, then you start measuring. Start measuring so that you can improve. Start measuring so that you know where you are. Start measuring so that you can reward yourself. And once you start measuring, once you start rewarding yourself, you definitely automatically become motivated. And motivation is, that is the energy that now starts to amplify whatever energy you already have. And once you start feeling motivated as a result of measuring, if you're feeling motivated about something that you're not measuring, remember that that motivation is not going to last. But if you're feeling motivated about something you are measuring consistently, you are almost building a river that is going to start flowing and that can flow all by itself and cut through rocks. And once motivation starts growing, then eventually motivation explodes into momentum. Even if all we do is from time to time start from mission all the way to momentum, and we stay there long enough to achieve the mission, and we move on to the next mission, we train our minds, we train our nervous system that this is something that we can do. And if you do it in one area, it becomes easy for you to do it in another area, and do it in another area, do it in another area. And finally, you can eventually, in one special area that you love and you want to commit yourself to long term, you can break into mastery. So the 7 M's: mission, movement, measurement, motivation, momentum, which is what we're pursuing during these 90 days, and finally, mastery. I encourage you to think through this for yourself. Think through and see in which ways it makes sense to you. Where might you be catching yourself, trapping yourself by trying to go through it in the way that works against it? And the biggest trap is the trap of motivation. Motivation will come, but it has to be preceded by measurement. Measurement has to be preceded by movement. And if they are stacked up like that, every single time they are stacked up like that, I always know it's only a matter of time before I break through to mastery, rather to momentum. Mastery is something I know I'm pursuing, that I would like to get to mastery, especially in speaking and in 3 different areas in cardiology, which is what I'm going to be practicing. Let me tell you an example. In medicine, the toughest exams are what we call the United States medical licensing exams. Sometimes it takes people up to 4 or 5 years to complete these exams. I completed the 3 exams in the span of less than 8 months. I did the first exam in about 3 months, and I followed exactly what I'm telling you here. I have a mission. What's the mission? I'm going to sit this first exam. It is the single toughest exam in medicine. Anybody in healthcare will tell you the USMLE Step 1 is the toughest exam, period. That's the mission. What is my movement? I'm going to start doing questions every single day. What's my measurement? How many questions am I going to do every single day? I tabulated that and I created a calendar just based off of that. What is my motivation? It will show up. It will show up as a result of me making progress. It will show up as a result of me measuring. And when motivation hit, I remember when motivation locked in, forget about that fleeting motivation that comes at the beginning. When motivation comes as a result of you measuring consistently and moving consistently, the rest of it was very easy. I performed so well in that exam, I couldn't even believe that I had done that. What did I do? I replicated it in the next one. I replicated it in the next one. In less than 9 months, I had all 3 exams done and actually shelved that paperwork to run the House of Mastery for 1 year, for 1 whole year, before I decided to utilize those credentials. This, if anything, proved to me that it is possible to tackle anything if you follow this series of M's the right way. That did. I hope that you can find some insights from this that you can apply and utilize it as a framework to help you start to refashion your journey during these 90 days and build truly powerful momentum that will help you cross into 2024 ready to actually do some amazing things in 2024. That will be the key piece that I wanted to share for today. And then from here, I'm just going to see whether people have any questions around what I have shared, or even if it's about whatever else that has crossed your mind. Does anybody will take a couple of questions before we move to the next part? Anybody has any questions or any reflections or anything that stood out to you from that first segment? Feel free to unmute yourself. And I will give you maybe another 30 seconds. If nobody's has anything, then we'll just move straight to the next part. Any reflections? Okay. Rahab, did you have something?
Yes, good morning, Doctor. Congratulations and thanks for making things look so practical. Sometimes is there a difference between being lazy and lacking motivation? Yeah, that's my question.
Thank you, Rahab. That is an amazing question. I believe I do not want to I do not know whether there is a philosophical answer that covers everything, but this is my perspective that every single time we have a goal we could pursue, but we don't pursue that goal, most of the time it has to do with perception. If you have a book that you could write, but you're not writing it, it's probably because you do not think it's going to be a bestseller, or you do not think that you have what it takes to write it, or you are psychologically intimidated by the pain of writing, and because maybe you've never written. I think when motivation strikes, nobody remains lazy. Nobody remains lazy. Laziness, I think what we call laziness is when we do not have the energy to move. And a lot of the times we don't have the energy to move because there's some block somewhere. Now, there can be many blocks, but I think perception, how we perceive things. If for example, right now, all of us here, if we had in our hands like a block of 1 kilogram of gold, and we know that we can sell this gold tomorrow for 1.5 million US dollars, but we have to drive all the way to Malaba or Busia to sell it. I don't think any of us would be unable to do that. And it's not because it's not because it's any easier to do this. It's because there is a clarity, there is a perception of the likelihood of success. Perception that I'm likely to succeed. If you perceive, if your perception focuses on the things you're going to succeed in doing things, but they're also meaningful to you, it's very likely that a lot of the times it becomes easier for us to start moving. I could give you many examples of the times that I felt stuck, and I look back, I'm like, was I being lazy? I don't think I was being lazy. I just had, my perception was inundated and crowded mostly by what I couldn't do, what was impossible, or the likelihood that I may not succeed, rather than what is it that I could do and how could I structure it in such a way that it can build on itself. Okay, that's this is a subject for me to continue reflecting on too. Any other question? If there's no question, then we'll just proceed to the next part. Let me call out 2 people. I think it's always good to hear a few reflections. Domitira, I think you've been with us from the beginning, and then after that, Fanny's. And actually Gladys, yes. I'll ask the 3 of you. Domitira, if you're able to. If not, could we please have Fanny's?
Okay, good morning, Kenya, and good evening again. So yeah, it's quite I love the way you've pulled them and they integrate. I've never thought of the 5 M's. So this is something, okay, some of them we've done, like for me, I've had the motivation of, I was briefly in this in 2021, but I wasn't active. I followed up what most people were saying. And then I was, just to give, like I was actually 80 kgs. And I told myself this was not working for me. And I actually have been exercising. I don't go to the gym. I just jog in the morning. Even after this, I'm going for a jog. And I'm so pleased with myself because now I am 65. Wow. And I plan to keep the motivation to maintain it there. So for me, yeah, I've followed this, the motivation just to make sure that I'm actually healthy and keep going, and also looking at myself in the mirror. It's a motivation that actually I'm doing something to myself. Yeah, thank you.
That's amazing, Fanny, and congratulations. I have a question for you. Can you tell me from the beginning, the journey from 80 to 65? That's not easy, and particularly at the beginning, of course, you'll wake up, go run, then you come back home. Nothing has changed. I would just briefly would like to get an idea what kind of thoughts were going through as you went through that journey.
It was discouraging, believe me. It was so discouraging. And this is where I actually now had to go. Thanks for YouTube. You'll go and you'll hear Simon Sinek and the rest telling you have to keep doing it every day. It doesn't start, you don't start, then you see the results immediately. It's the action of repeatedly doing it over and over and over. So yes, I'll really get discouraged, and you can imagine because I was big, so wherever I'll run, I'll actually have bruises because, of my weight. So it was really discouraging, painful, and I thank God that I kept going, and I'm so happy that I don't think I want to go back to where I was.
Wow, that's amazing. That's one of the hardest things, 2 of the hardest things that I know in healthcare is getting people to quit smoking who have been smoking for a while and losing weight because it has so many layers to it. So you have achieved something amazing for yourself. And I'm very happy for you. That's you had a mission to cut down your weight, and you've done it. Definitely required movement, and I'm sure it was not easy from the beginning. And there is that element of measurement, knowing how far you have come. The fact that now you are essentially getting the reward from just knowing that you're 65, you're like, look at me, from 80 to 65, that measurement, it leaves you with a motivation, and I can feel your motivation, that you are motivated to not go back. And that's something valuable to keep with you. Let's hear from Gladys and then Ivy.
Hi, Daktari. Hi, everyone. I'm just excited about just being back in the 90-day momentum. I especially love two things that have happened to me. One is everything I learn, I like to teach somebody else.
Wow.
And that's measurement of motivation to make sure that I'm not just keeping the information and I'm sure that somebody else is benefiting from me. So the last cycle of learning was reading the Bible cover to cover. Many years I tried reading the Bible with various Bible movements till I learned the consistency of reading from Genesis to Revelation. I did the first round in 265 days, and I'm now on round 3. And I can tell you it was not easy because I wanted to read it before 6 a.m. every day, a minimum of 3 chapters. By the time I finished the first round, I'd recruited 2 other people, and they're telling me their experience of now knowing God in a different level. I'm hooked for life, knowing that when I'm motivated, I can impact different aspects of my life. So the staying the course is not easy. There are many consistency barriers, but once you pull through and achieve the first goal, it was so easy to go to round 2 because of that. So I'm excited about that journey of Bible reading, and I'm using that skill to motivate myself in other areas. Back to you, Dr.
Thank you so much, Gladys. You've highlighted a pillar that we. If you have a core goal, and you apply these principles and create momentum, that momentum starts to spread to your other parts of your area. And it's something that requires you to push yourself a little bit, to start your day earlier, or to use your body in ways that you generally don't use it. Those are the two that I find most powerful. Something that pushes you to, concentrate your mind on something, or to work out physically on a consistent basis. It gets to a point where the two come together in some way, and the ripple effect that you've built starts to spread to other parts of your life. And I will find you, Gladys, to hear more, because that's it's always great to hear what people, how people are creating. We call this generating energy. I think energy is very, and this touches back, Rehab, on what we spoke about. Energy is very deceptive. I think we forget that energy is generated. If you and I eat and we go lie down, we have taken up something that is very, very high calorie, but it doesn't give us energy. We have to generate energy. We have to convert that fuel into energy, which is why nobody I know who works out physically on a consistent basis tends to complain that they're running out of energy that easily. So consistency is just so important. Let's hear from Ivy. Then from there, we'll move to the next part. If you're available, Ivy.
Hello, morning and evening to you. This is my first momentum, so I'm looking forward to also getting a story after hearing the rest of your stories. I was referred to by Fanis, so a big ups to her to enabling me to join here with all of you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ivy, for sharing. Just for the purpose of keeping this short, I'm going to now just ask if there's anybody who would like to share what goal you are working on. First of all, I want to get 2 or 3 people to reflect about the last audio that I shared. The question, what do you want? And see whether there are any reflections that came up. And I would like to hear from people that haven't spoken. Ideally, everybody on the call, just be prepared to say something. I'm going to I'll ask Mercy and Shalene. Mercy, Shalene, and so that's Mercy, Mercy J, and Mercy Ngaine and Shalene, the 3 of you. If you did that exercise, just your reflections about that exercise. The goal, guys, the goal is for us to create a community by we still have several weeks remaining. By the end of December, we should actually be a source of support to each other. It should be a space where you can talk about these things, because I do not get to talk about these things openly with everyone. It's just a few specific people, and this is an environment where you can actually share and reflect and ask questions about these kind of subjects. Some people might look at you like, why are you so obsessed about the future? If we are not obsessed about the future, what shall we be obsessed about? The past. So this is the space for us to do it. So let's start off with Mercy J.
Yes, good morning.
I
get examples of business that I don't have framework. I feel like I mean, the other way when it's okay, I'll talk about it. But for that, I think I will. One of the
Mercy, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but for some reason we can't hear you very well. Are you using headphones or connected through another medium?
I'm using a car. I'm using my phone. Is that better?
That's better. Yes, that's better. Slightly better.
Okay. So yes, good morning again. Well, I'll probably touch on the mastery, because I feel like that is what has jolted me into some form of action. I even woke up to take notes. I feel like it's a practical framework to probably achieve most of the goals, even the ones I've not achieved in the past. I feel like it's such an aha moment. So first, thank you for that. Then from yesterday, what I picked was, what do I want for myself? Now, I have not been able to really bring it down. I wrote a list of things, and one thing, of course, that I feel can impact my life, and from what I've had and what I've had even as a vision and goal for many years, is the health factor, like losing weight and being healthy, so that my mind also maybe can be able to keep going. And now I can see how I can implement maybe this 6 M's to achieve that. So probably I'll be able to. This is my first momentum class or session. I was invited by a friend of mine, and interestingly, my first real class, because I've been away, my first real class was yesterday, and I started now doing the fast days and everything. So I feel like I'm in a space where probably I'll be able to give a testimony at the end of the 90 days. So thank you very much. And yes, I think that's what I'm able to share at this point.
Thank you so much. We are very happy to have you. Let's do it. And our next share is Mercy.
Hi, everyone. You can hear me?
We can hear you, Mercy. Go ahead.
Great. So thank you for this opportunity, Job. Every day I listen to your story, I feel so much inspired that I want to walk this journey with so many people. So that's why I was able to invite as many as possible. So specifically for me, I want growth. I want to prosper in various areas. I want financial growth. I want spiritual growth. I want career growth. Now, specifically for these particular days, I want to really develop my skills in training. I'm a training specialist, like I mentioned earlier. So I want to polish up my skills to be the best person ever, the go-to person. So from the position that I am at right now, I want growth career-wise so that I can even lead the rest, so that I am eyeing a higher position from where I am right now. So I think these days of 90 days of momentum, I'll be able to create the correct momentum so that even I can be able to traject correctly from 2024 henceforth. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mercy, for sharing. Because I know your journey, I'm going to ask you a specific question that I hope will add value to where you're going. What specific things, I love that you have the area narrowed down for these 90 days, what you want to focus on. What specific things do you want to do that are going to spark growth in this specific area?
Now, first of all, it's a commitment in what I've been doing. I've been lagging behind in so many things. First of all, it's dedicating and allocating my time correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And also ensuring that I purpose to do what I'm doing. Like, for example, investing, I've already started. And wherever I was lagging, I've been able to push a little bit. So moving forward, I'll be able to make some more improvement. Also, in terms of what you've mentioned about time is of essence, because when I don't start my day correctly, I'm not able to have my goals worked on, my goals moving forward. So what I've really ensured that I've done, it's ensuring that I put whatever skills that I want to polish up, I'm working earlier, much more earlier than I've been doing. So I'm able even to develop myself in terms of studying even different materials. So that is what I'm focusing on right now. And it's working out well. I've done it even before the 90 days momentum. So when this call came in, it was very timely for me.
Fantastic. I love it. You are right on the right trajectory. Keep going. This is an exercise for you to work on. You want to become, I would like you to think about if specifically about training, because you've reiterated that a couple of times. You have the skill and the gift. You have the skill to be an amazing trainer, because I've seen you speak before people. You exude charisma, and that's something you need to be aware of. But what I want you to think about is, after you have trained people, when they leave and they say that speaker was, and they only use one word, and it's not charismatic, it's a word, something that I can see physically. What is it? Is it energetic? Is it approachable? Is it what is that word? And let that word be an attribute of your training that you haven't necessarily worked on before. So that then you give yourself a month or two during those, every single time you have a training, you go in with the intention that I'm going to be an approachable trainer, or I'm going to be a present or observant trainer, or I'm going to be an engaging trainer, whatever you choose. You make it very specific. That becomes your mission. Your movement is that you, every single time before you go into the training, you remind yourself of the intention. The measurement is you look for that feedback, look for that in the feedback, in the evaluations that come out. Is there any mention of that? And if you maintain that awareness, trust me, 100%, at some point you start seeing it come out from the evaluations being mentioned by your trainees, whoever you're training, and that will add to your motivation and to your momentum. So your mission is Yeah.
Sorry to interject, Job. Actually, you're speaking about what I've been looking at this last week. I've been looking at the evaluation forms. We do some simple evaluation forms. And what I would collect from, I had like 21 trainees. And what I would collect from, let's say 80%, it was the word excellent. Excellent trainer. So that one really motivated me that I'm looking forward for next week and moving forward.
I love it. Yeah, keep going.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. And so Marissa, Shalene, we are going to hear from you, right?
Thank you, Dr. Job. A good evening to you and a good morning to the rest of us on this other side. So reflecting on the question, what do I want? My answer was a purposeful life. I'd like to discover my purpose and walk in my purpose as early as now. With a purposeful life comes everything else. You can get to, when you discover your purpose, you can now get to incorporate the 6 M's to now the journey onto mastery. You get growth in every aspect of your life. And yeah, that was my answer, a purposeful life. I'd like to discover my God-given purpose and exhaust it before I am called back home. Yeah.
Thank you, Shalene. That's a very lofty goal. Wish you very well. That's something I would love to happen to me too, and to everyone on this call. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us essentially to 1 hour of this session. But I'm going to have everyone else who hasn't said anything to just share a very quick reflection. Everyone else, if you haven't said anything, I would like you to say something. So we have Shiro, Diba, Domitira, we have James and Sylvia, and Rahab too, because you only asked a question. We have someone else has joined us, Grace. So we'll start with Sylvia. Let's go.
Hello, everyone. Very nice to meet you all. I'm really happy to be in this group. Dr. Mogire, thank you so much for setting it up. It was quite timely for me as I was I'm always on the lookout for communities of like-minded people. And just as I was beginning my fitness journey, really coming back to my fitness journey, I came by your post welcoming people into this 90-day challenge. And it was quite timely because a while back, I had been very consistent with my fitness journey. I would wake up at 5:30 a.m. every single weekday, and I'd be running 5 kilometers. And I fell by the wayside, and I thought this November would be a perfect time to get back onto my fitness journey. This time, joined a gym because, again, community.
Mm-hmm.
So this has been very timely, and thank you. And I can already see that this is a community of like-minded people for sure, because listening to Gladys and her Bible reading journey, that is me. Over the last 6 years, I started out, with an audio Bible reading as I was doing my commute to and from work. And then when I stopped spending so much time on the road, I would spend time in the morning reading and writing and having reflections on the same. So I can see already we have like-minded people. And Marcy talks about starting her day early. Again, that's a community that I'm really happy to be part of. In terms of the reflections of what I want, I had actually been thinking about 2 specific things. Number 1 is to grow the business that I'm a founder of. And as many of you might know, is that usually as a leader of a business, the business takes the character of the leader. And so if you're not consistent, if you're not doing ABC, and starting something from the ground up is not very easy because the structures are not there for you. You have to set it up yourself. So my number 1 goal has been consistency and starting my day early in order to be able to achieve the most during the day and to be able to show a good example to the team. And so that going to the gym in the morning is a way of making sure, one, I'm energetic and I start early. And so my goal is to actually go to the gym Monday to Friday, every day, and now for the next 90 days. And then number two is to grow the business by selling to one person every single day, because you can then find yourself being very busy working on the things and the operations of a business as opposed to growth. So selling every day and going to the gym every day in order to start my day. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Your mission is already very clearly defined. Those are two very specific things. It's very easy to move in those areas, to measure in those areas, and to therefore generate motivation and build towards momentum. Next, I'm going to request Shiro.
Hi, Doc. How are you?
I'm good.
And good morning, everyone. Yeah, so for me, my reflections have been on one, my health, and two, I want to transition from employment into having a business. And, you know, like you've been emphasizing, it's really all about systems. It's really systems. I remember reading in a book once that was talking about if you were to look even for how many people maybe can make a better burger than McDonald's, you'd possibly find even many amongst us. But if you change the narrative and now you're looking for someone who can make a better business than McDonald's out of the burger, then you've changed the narrative. It now has become a discussion from recipes straight into systems. So yeah, that is what my journey is going to be. I'm so glad to be in this group. And again, like you said, if you want to walk fast, walk alone. But if you want to walk far, walk together. So I'm so excited to be here. And thank you so much for doing this and creating time amongst your busy schedule. God bless you.
You're welcome, Shiro. And thank you for sharing that. Diba, I'm presuming this is Diba Dulacha.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Job. Good to see you. Good to meet you again. Good evening. Good morning to everyone on this other part of the world. And thank you for this another session of 90-day momentum. As you know, I was part of the 2021-2022 90-day momentum challenge, which was really beneficial for me. Helped me to work through a number of my objectives in the last 3 years. So I'm really happy to be part of this one. I'm undertaking around 2 learning activities, including a second master's. So I'm looking to be a consistent learner by developing a very regular, rigid routine that will help me to undertake these 2 learning activities. So thank you very much for this. In terms of my reflection from yesterday's question, mine is really to be to find my contribution to the society so that I leave behind an impact and a legacy. And this is really, I think it's related to the purpose, which is always a very difficult question to find your purpose. But eventually mine is to really find my key contribution to the society through my skills and knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Diba. It's great to connect with you again. Diba is one of my colleagues in Toastmasters and in medicine. So wonderful to meet you again here. I'm going to ask James, you're next.
Thank you, Dr. Job. Good morning and good night. I've always wanted to say that, and this seems like the perfect opportunity to do it. And I'll reflect on today's session. It has really put a lot of things together for me. I've been wondering why I chose something like graphic design as my major goal. And I think the intention behind that was because of just how easy it is to track progress and measure everything that I'm doing. As this is something I can look at and see, oh my God, I was I was terrible at this yesterday, but today I'm doing much better, and I will be the first one to share that when you're seeing that you're making progress, when you can measure just how much progress you're making, it becomes very easy for motivation to come along and for it to be sustained. And it is what we're hoping to achieve at the end of this 90 days momentum. Now, something else I'd like to add is that I think reflection, well, at least for me, is also a method of measurement. I was looking back at the charts that we used to have in the group back in 2020, and we used to have some sort of daily reflections. And I was reading through some of them, and they are quite something. And I believe even in 2020, they used to be a form of measurement for me. This is what I have learned today. This is what I am acknowledging, that it has come to my awareness, and I will put it into action tomorrow. And they used to really come in handy. As I wind up, I'd like to congratulate everyone that has spoken before me. You guys are just amazing. From mastering the ECG, cutting from 80 to 65, reading the Bible cover to cover, especially when you're not in theology. It's really inspirational. And to anyone that might be listening to this recording much later, this is probably the place. This is most likely the place for you. It's a place where you can find inspiration, and it is soon going to be a place where you can find people to keep you accountable. Yes, thank you for the chance to say something. Yeah, I wish everyone all the best.
Thank you, James. Always a pleasure to have you. Who is remaining? Domitira, you available? Okay.
Yes, good evening, Daktari. Good morning to the rest of us. Yes, on the reflections, what do I want? What I want is prosperity in life. Then I ask myself, what's hindering me? Discipline. Discipline to take action. Discipline to maintain this action up to the end. Privileged to be here, to find a community that will be walking this journey together with. I'm also, what I picked from your story, on the aspect of measurement. You find yourself that I have been taking actions, but I was lacking the aspect of measurement, whereby you take an action today, but you don't measure tomorrow. So what are my goals? The goals for this actually, this is my first momentum challenge. So I have 2 goals. I'm actually a student taking a MSc in animal nutrition. So my 2 goals, one is to learn R, and my second goal is to complete my thesis. There is something that you shared on, that you don't rise to the level of your goals, but you fall to the level of your systems. So trying to incorporate the system. One of it is waking up early to read at least 20 articles on my area of specialty. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Domitira, for sharing that. I love your goals. Learning R is an excellent goal because it's very easy for you to measure, and it's either you are progressing or you're not. Like it's an interesting software. And also, of course, reading, your goals are very well defined. If you use those for this 90-day challenge, by the time you cross into the next year, oh my goodness, you'll be ready to pick up a bigger goal and crush it. So ladies and gentlemen, we will end this here. We are essentially 1 hour into the meeting. Thank you for showing up today. This is a testament to the commitment that you are investing in your mission, in your movement, your measurement, in your motivation, momentum, and gradually you will build towards mastery. We will continue with a daily engagement that will be slightly more provocative and sometimes shorter sharing from me in the group. But the goal is for all of us to be engaged. The goal is for you to actually do something about what we are learning on a consistent basis. I'm not naive enough to believe that you would get a group of 100 people to sign up and they all remain active. But what I usually have difficulties dealing with is to have a group of 100 people and only 5 or 10 of them are engaged. So at some point, we are going to narrow down to the people who really want to take this to the next level, so that then in the coming, at some point, towards the end of November going forward, we will start having more than one meeting in the course of the week. So the meetings are shorter, but then we actually start working on specifics on people's goals, so that I can give you feedback specifically on what you're working on, and other people can give you feedback, and that's how we learn from each other. I will tell you without a doubt that of all of you, I have learned the most, because I had to spend 2 hours reflecting about what I was going to share. The 6 M's I shared, it's actually a 7M framework, but the other M, I usually keep it on the side until what time comes when we incorporate it, when everybody has a goal and it's very clear what you're doing. It's a framework that came, I think this is a framework that God gave to me, because it came to me at a time when I really needed something to help me actually take action and move. And it's one of the 3 frameworks that you can wake me up anytime and I will talk about it. And because I'm not talking about it theoretically, it's something that I do, it's something that I use on an ongoing basis. Take the 6 M's: mission, movement, measurement, motivation, momentum, and mastery. Take those 6 M's and start using them on a consistent basis. Mastery is aspirational. Momentum is the end goal of sustained activity. Look at the first 4. For remembering that motivation is not just, it's not something you start with. It is fuel, but it's fuel that comes to amplify. Use those 6 M's, use them as much as you can as you start narrowing down and looking at what is it that is going to be one of like your central goal during the rest of this 90-day challenge. And now it's about time for me to turn in and get ready for tomorrow. I will speak to you again tomorrow in the group, and I wish you all an amazing day as you start. Let's keep going. That's it from me today. This is day 11 of the 90-day Momentum Challenge. My name is Dr. Mogire. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.